call the Twilight Zone.
Steve Kerr, and you look at Steph and Clay, and even Draymond with his lack of performance.
He's at 2 in a row, 7 points for him. The twirling Doncic, melting into the defense. The front Curry strikes. Swing, fly ball, well hit left center. Robert Acuna has homer. Rookie rushing record for the Steelers.
Look, he came into this game averaging 3.67 yards per carry. 42nd out of 49 qualified rushers.
To begin the third quarter. It has been incredible. There he comes again. Oh, goodness. And a Greek basketball god. And he was a great guy that teaches
the Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Dingers, Dunks, and Drives. I am Corey, and with me tonight is... Oh, wait. I'm solo right now. Todd will be joining us here in a little bit, battling through the always fun technical difficulties of technology. Aaron and Bobby have the night off. Bobby is currently throwing it down at the Columbus Clippers baseball game. It is dime dog night for the Columbus Clippers. And Bobby, I'm sure, is enjoying himself out there. Aaron getting married in a couple weeks. A lot of prep. Any married individuals out there, you know, a lot of prep behind a wedding. So Aaron is holding it down with the missus to be getting ready for that. So I am tiding things over until Todd is able to join us. But welcome to Dingers, Dunks, and Drives. This is our Wednesday broadcast that is simulcast on not only our Facebook, not only our YouTube, but also on the Mafia Sports Report YouTube page. So however you are joining us tonight, I appreciate you. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter. The handle is scrolling right at the bottom of your screen at Rally_Towel_S. And on that Twitter page, we ran a poll this week. There's been a lot of surprises going on in the early goings of the NFL, whether it be the fact that the Dolphins are where they are, or the Eagles are where they are, or the Raiders are who they are. But more importantly, there's been a couple of surprises as to a couple of teams that aren't where they should be or where we think they should be. And I put up a proposition about 3 different teams. Brian, thanks for liking the stream. Coming on by. What up, man? Good evening to you as well. I appreciate you always being a loyal supporter of the page. Grub and Dub Bruce, thanks for liking the stream, buddy. Good to see you. Just mentioned your Raiders, not where we think they should be. Bruce Jr. has liked the stream. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. Car sucks, says Bruce. Oh, Bruce. Okay, that's you. The last name Jr. Chuck, what's going on, man? Thanks for dropping by. Good to see you, man. I appreciate you. So, couple of teams. Oh, the likes are rolling in. Ryan, what's up, man? Let's see. I'm going to get to your comments here before we get into this Twitter poll. Willing and ready to get these hot takes. It's like IHOP. But instead of hot cakes, you got hot takes coming out of here at Rally Towel Sports on Dingers, Dunks, and Drives. So we put a poll up on the Twitter page saying, out of these teams that have one win, which one do you think should be worried the most? And again, go ahead and follow us on Twitter. The Bengals with one win. Defending AFC champs. Started 0-2. Looked pretty good on Sunday. We'll get to that game here in a little bit. The Colts, another team that started 0-2. Many people have them winning the AFC South. Many people might still have them winning the AFC South after we've seen how the rest of that division has performed. And the Chargers with one win. Now, the Chargers have played some pretty good football teams. Obviously, the Jacksonville Jaguars, somebody that has surprised us as an organization so far this year, getting the win over the Chargers this last weekend. And in our Twitter poll, out of everyone who answered, 57% of the Rally Towel Sports family says the Chargers should be the most worried with only one win. Now you think of out of those three teams, I still might think that the Chargers might be the best out of those three teams, whether that's the Colts or the Bengals, the Chargers. If you're considering those three, I know a lot of people are going to in here, Bengals fans, and a lot of Bengals are better than the Chargers. I might tend to agree with you there. Kind of the where I stand on the Chargers, I've been pretty vocal about this. Where I stand on the Chargers is prove it to me. You haven't made the playoffs. Everyone writes them up every single year as a team that is going to take the league by storm. Obviously, last year they started 5-2. They were hot, looking great. They've got a great quarterback. There's no doubt about that. Offensive line is very good. Obviously, going to be a little hindered moving forward with Rashawn Slater going out for the year. I believe a torn bicep is the injury there. Rough go for him. But look at that division. You're starting 1-2 in what is arguably the most competitive division in the league, with the Raiders, Broncos, Chiefs, and of course the Chargers. I've got some questions and concerns about that defense, guys. Now, that's been the mark of the Chargers for the last few years, right? Has been that defensive performance, or rather lack thereof. So let's kind of get into this game as we start breaking down week 3. I'm holding it off here until Todd is going to be joining me here a little bit later tonight once we figure out all the fun that is going on with his computer. But anyway, Jaguars moving to 2-1, Chargers moving to 1-2, 38-10. The Chargers move up. Trevor Lawrence looked phenomenal. 28 of 39 for 262 and 3 touchdowns. James Robinson, 100 yards on the ground on 17 carries, averaging almost 6 yards, 5.9 yards per carry. And ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I'm getting somebody joining me right now, Mr. Todd. Gotcha. What's going on?
Holy shit. That was crazy. I mean, it just took 25 minutes for my fucking computer to.
We've all been there. We've all been there. You're joining us. You're joining us at a perfect time. We've just discussed the Twitter poll where 57% of Rally Towel Sports family believes that out of the one win teams, notice I didn't say 2 loss, as the Colts only have 1 loss. Out of the 1 win teams listed, Colts, Bengals, Chargers, 57% of Rally Towel Sports family thinks that we should be most worried about the Chargers at 1-2. And I'm mentioning a lot of that, in my opinion, has to do with the division that they're in. What do you think?
Yeah, so I think being a part of the AFC West, and look, I think that we've seen Las Vegas having some troubles getting off the ground here. We've seen Denver having a little trouble getting off the ground here, but I'm really concerned about LA, the Chargers specifically, because of injuries. I think that's the thing that scares me the most.
And I mentioned there's the Slater injury, a torn bicep, out for the year. Their left tackle, great football player. I think he was a Pro Bowler last year, if I'm not mistaken.
He was. And you're talking about Bosa being out for extended. He was placed on IR today, so he's out for at least 4 games. You have Justin Herbert, who's dealing with the rib cartilage issues. You have Keenan Allen.
Ask Tyrod Taylor about that one.
Who is suing the Chargers now, by the way.
Yeah.
Getting his money back for acupuncturing his lung. But I think the big thing for me when I look at LA is that we've seen them have even with everybody, with the exception of Keenan Allen being 100% healthy, we've seen them have some issues on the field, just getting the chemistry right. And it's not necessarily, I don't see it as like a Justin Herbert issue. I just see it as an overall team aspect issue. And, look, they went out and spent some money, right? You go out and get Khalil Mack. You give Derwin James the most money of a secondary.
Chuck, sharing the stream. Appreciate you, brother.
You give JC Jackson money. Like they went out and got their guys, right? And they just can't seem to figure it out.
Yeah, and let's be clear. A lot of football left to go, but I was diving into the week previous in their matchup with the Chargers, and we'll get into week 4 here as well, but we want to recap week 3 before that, and looking at the Jaguars, I just mentioned Trevor Lawrence, 28 of 39, 262 and 3 touchdowns. James Robinson, 100 on the ground on 17 pops, averaging almost 6 yards a carry at 5.9 a touch and a touchdown. You've got 2 wide receivers, Zay Jones, Christian Kirk, popping for over 70 yards. Christian Kirk caught 6 passes, averaging 12 yards a catch. Travis Etienne caught 3 passes, averaging 10 yards a catch. You got who else do we got in here? Jamal Agnew with a catch at 17 yards. Just the defense is really the main issue, as it has been for the Chargers as we're looking at this.
That's historical.
Yeah. And we're looking at Justin Herbert, obviously, a guy that has been dealing with a lot, but 25 of 45, 297 yards, but 25 of 45, Todd. That's almost a 50% completion percentage. It's not what you want to be seeing. And you're looking at the rushing attack. What rushing attack? Sony Michel had 5 carries for 22 yards. You could argue that this is because most of the game the Chargers are climbing out of a hole. And when you go down 16-7 at halftime and then follow that up getting outscored 5-fold, 15-3 in the third quarter, it's not looking good. And then they throw up a blank in the fourth as the Jags move to 2-1. What about the fucking Jaguars, Todd?
Look, statistically, we're talking about the best rushing defense in football right now. When you talk about Jacksonville allowing the lowest yards on the ground at 155 through 3 weeks. You've seen Christian Kirk, who we talked about is crazy money in the offseason. What did it make sense? And he's played up to his contract so far. And then you look at another guy, another key acquisition that they got from the Raiders, and Zay Jones. Zay Jones has been a shining star on that Jacksonville offense. And oh, by the way, they have a pretty decent 2-headed monster in the backfield with James Robinson and Travis Etienne Jr. I think you and I talked specifically about how excited we were to see Etienne Jr. in the backfield and get his touches. And 100% healthy James Robinson was a guy that got 80-plus yards a game of total offense or line of scrimmage yards last year before he had that torn Achilles. So it's not like we're seeing anything different from him. This is a team where, well, I think that
Mr. Bauer, thanks for liking the stream, buddy.
Them being 2-1 is really good. I mean, I'm not talking about the fucking Jaguars being a playoff contender, and maybe I could be wrong at the end of the year, but it seems like things are firing on all cylinders for them right now. And I think you ride the dragon until the dragon falls off, right? That's the rule. So I like it. I love seeing Trevor Lawrence, a guy that everybody was down on last year, kind of saying that he was over
Ryan, thanks for
coming
liking
into the NFL. I like seeing him have a lot of success. He's had a lot of success so far this year. I think we just keep riding it out, and Jaguar Nation, if you're out there, we'd love to have somebody on there from Jacksonville to talk some football with us.
Well, we got one in the chat right now with Mr. Ryan Cratch Young coming on in.
Oh, shit. Cratch in the chat.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you dropping by, buddy. Good to have you. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I think a big thing that we're going to have to watch is that division as a whole. Obviously, the Raiders aren't what we thought they were, at least initially. A lot of football left to play. We'll get into the Raiders here shortly. But before we do that, the first game of the week, Thursday night, wasn't the most exciting game that I've ever watched. But I'm sure one of our co-hosts, Mr. Aaron Mailing, was happy, while the other one, Mr. Bobby Lehman, not so much. But I think he expected it, as we all picked the Browns going into this matchup. The Cleveland Browns, of course, won that matchup 29-17 in Cleveland at First Energy Stadium. The Browns moving to 2-1 and in first place in the AFC North. Wow. Mitch Trubisky, on the other hand, 20 of 32 for 207 yards. Didn't turn the ball over, but Todd, when you watch Mitch Trubisky play, there's a lot to be desired. Am I wrong?
Yeah, look, I think watching him through these first 3 weeks, the consistent thing that I watch with him is that he's just not able to. He's either not getting the opportunity to stretch the field, or he just can't stretch the field.
Sure.
And I think you saw him do that in bits and pieces in Chicago. But it's essential for Pittsburgh to win, for him to be able to stretch the field, because they need to let Najee Harris run the football. And And when you can defend Pittsburgh as a run first team, you're taking the best part of your game out, because Najee Harris is a guy that can give you separation if you could get the passing game started. I mean, you're talking about the statistics of Mr. Trubinsky. That's 6.5 yards a completion. That's a pretty low number per completion. And looking at his involvement through the team here, I think that he finally got George Pickens involved, and we saw him make the best catch of the year so far. I thought that was
amazing.
It was unbelievable.
Beautiful catch.
3 catches on 7 targets. Deontay Johnson, 8 catches on 11 targets. Pat Freiermuth, 2 catches on 4 targets. Those are your big ball hawks there.
I want to get back to the Najee point for the Steelers specifically, because going into this, Najee Harris is a first-round fantasy pick in almost every draft. Am I wrong? Correct me if I'm wrong, but Najee Harris is going in the first round in almost every single fantasy draft. At least I was in. All the mocks I was seeing had Najee going late first round, maybe early second round, but Najee's right there as one of the premier running backs in football. And Todd, through 3 games, I want you to say over or under 145 yards. Over or under?
He's under right now.
He's under.
For a fact he's under.
128 yards through 3 games. Week 1 at the Bengals, 23 yards. Week 2 at the Patriots, 49 yards. Week 3 against the Browns, 56 yards. That's it.
That was his first touchdown, too, against the Browns.
That's it. Yeah, first touchdown of the season. Only getting his most involvement in the passing game was against the Patriots, where he caught 5 passes. It's a complete flip on what we saw last year with Najee being the offense was running through him. And maybe a little bit of that has to do with Ben's ability to facilitate an offense versus Mitch Trubisky's ability to facilitate an offense. So, are we ready? Are we calling for Pickett yet? I mean, I think Bobby is.
Yeah, I'm ready to see him on the field. Honestly, at this, here's the thing: is so you look at Pittsburgh's next. Let's call it the next 5 weeks. Mm-hmm. So, at home against the Jets, on the road against the Bills, at home against the Bucks, on the road against the Dolphins, on the road against the Eagles.
When's the bye?
So that will be following the Steelers-Eagles game. So that's week 10, right? So here's the thing: is that I could see the Steelers beating the Jets this week, and that's it, right? Like there's a chance they go 1-4 on this 5-game stretch, and you're going into the bye week sitting at what, 2-7?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
What do you have to lose by putting him on the field? You're already paying him more than Trubinsky.
If they're going into the bye at 2-7, Kenny Pickett will be the starter coming out of the bye.
Yeah,
has to be. What do you have to lose at that point? You're 100% correct. You're 100% correct. You're almost statistically eliminated from the playoffs. You're going to need a lot of help, and you're going to need to win a lot of football games going down the stretch. You've knocked out 9 of your 17 games with I'm blanking right now. Sorry, with 7, I believe. 8 more games. Jesus, the wine's already working, Todd. It's Wine Wednesday. With 8 remaining games left on the docket, there, I don't see why you wouldn't. So I'd be remiss for Aaron's sake if we didn't talk a little bit about the Browns' success against the Steelers, and it was a great showing out there for Jacoby Brissett. 21-31, 220 yards and 2 touchdowns, doing exactly what he's supposed to do, putting his team in a position to win. But I think we all know who the hero is on this football team, and it is the one, the only, the Mr. Half Boner, Nick Chubb. 23 carries at 4.9 a pop, 113 yards and a touchdown. A man possessed with the football in his hands. Amari Cooper, though, 7 catches, 101 yards and a touchdown. Yep. Good showing for Amari as well. His first one, really. There in the Browns, and it'll be interesting how they get him more involved. The Browns, though, in first place of the AFC North, 2-1. We're coming up on what used to be a quarter of the season as we're wrapping up 4 games this week. And we will get to week 4, ladies and gentlemen. But But if you're the Browns, you got to be feeling great. I mean, you're sitting in first place. Your better quarterback hasn't even seen the field yet. So you've got a lot to be happy right now if you're a Cleveland Browns fan. But let's be very clear, ladies and gentlemen, divisions are not won in September. So let's keep playing some football and see. Let's see how it goes up.
We're walking into week 4, and it's fun to speculate. And I agree with you. If you're a Browns fan, you got to be fucking riding high right now because you're coming out 2-1. You really should be 3-0. Right. I mean, that game against the Jets was lost by the hands of Cleveland. It wasn't like the Jets took it over. And again, you said it, but Nick Chubb I think him and Derrick Henry are two of the last of the I'm going to take the ball and shove it down your throat style of running back. I think
Jonathan Taylor's in that conversation.
Yeah, that's true. Jonathan Taylor's in there. I think he's a little bit more delayed, but when you watch Nick Chubb run the ball, by the time that you realize he has the ball, he's 2 yards downfield. That's what makes him good, right? Is that he's not getting taken down in the backfield because he's constantly moving forward. And I think that there's something to be said about a north and south running back, especially when you're dealing with your backup quarterback out there. And he makes the Browns offense flow so smooth. I love watching. I hate watching him run against the Bengals. I like watching him run outside of that. Because it reminds me of the 90s style running back. The
Edgerrin James is what I see.
Edgerrin James, the Eddie Georges, those guys that just literally, as soon as they got the ball, they were hitting the hole and they were 5 yards downfield. So his statistics tell you that too. He averages right around 6 yards a carry as a career running back, which is disgusting. It's pretty fucking special. That's a special number.
Yeah, that's disgusting. A comment in here in the chat coming up from Charles here. I'm so ready for Peterson to go into Philly this week and shred him. Yeah, that is going to be a fun matchup, which we will be getting to here in just a little bit as we continue to recap week 3. If you're just now joining us, thank you so much. We are simulcast from the Mafia Sports Report right now on YouTube, as well as Rally Towel Sports on YouTube and Facebook. Be sure to go ahead and check us out. Subscribe, like, and share. We love y'all so much. Moving on to what might be the most interesting game. I feel like we're getting a lot of these heavy hitters out of the way here, and we'll kind of coast through the remaining of the schedule. But the 1 o'clock slot was pretty packed, at least from our perspective as a team we're a team, Rally Towel Sports team that covers some of these small market teams. And of course, we got to get to the Buffalo Bills, man. The Bills taking on the Dolphins. 19-21, Dolphins pull it off, and Ken Dorsey fucking blew a lid in the
lost his fucking mind.
Absolutely.
Crazy to see
insane.
him lose his cool like that. I think that look, I understand his frustration though, right? Like you know, I didn't get to watch the game in real time, but to get to watch it back and watch some of the highlights, it just didn't.
How many times do you think Josh Allen threw the ball? Don't look it up.
Oh, shit, 65 times.
63.
Yeah, I mean, he was throwing the ball every other snap. I'm sorry, every third snap because they had 90. I just want to lay this stat out there, and then I'll move on. Buffalo ran 90 offensive snaps and scored 19 points.
Jaden, liking the stream, thank you, buddy.
That's insane. Miami ran 39 offensive snaps. Buffalo ran 90 fucking offensive plays, bro. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
If you cannot put more than 19 points on the board with that many plays, it's a troubled spot, right? And Buffalo's not in trouble. I don't want it to come off that way. They're not in trouble by any way, shape, and form. But we talked about where Buffalo has some of their issues last year, and it looks very similar this year. Is that you play
can't
really
run the fucking football.
Yeah, back-to-back weeks, and then you get into a week where you don't set the foundation, and then the whole house fucking crumbles, and then you're constantly just picking up the pieces. Josh Allen should not have to throw the ball 63 times. That's way too much.
Yeah.
And you have the running backs in the backfield to be able to run the ball more.
Yeah, and what I don't understand is why they were throwing that. It's not like they were down the whole game. This was a slugfest, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they were tied at the end of the first quarter. They were tied at halftime, 14 up. But you look at the rushing, guess who the leading rusher is? It's Josh Allen. Josh Allen on 8 carries. He had twice as many carries. Excuse me. I'm sorry. He had one less carry than their starting running back at Devin Singletary. He had twice as many carries as as Zach Moss, their backup running back, who actually averaged 11.5 a fucking pop. But
most of that came on that big run that he had where he
Yeah,
popped off
yeah.
for like 40.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Fair point. The point remains, though, it's a lack of commitment to that game. And yes, you have Josh Allen. You have this amazing football player who you and I both picked as the MVP, which I still think he will be when all things said and done. There's a couple other guys that are probably front runners right now. Most considerably, the guy on the other side of the coin in this matchup, Tua Tagovailoa. But it's not a sustainable practice in the league. You have to be able to run the football, not because of the yards that you gain on it, not because of it'll score you more touchdowns by running the foot. Well, it will, but I'll get to that here in a second. Just what it does for your offensive line, getting in a groove, getting aggressive, pushing people, what it does to the defense, keeping them honest, making them respect that aspect of your game. It does wonders. And if the Bills can add that final piece, I mean, get the fuck out of their way, right? But that is and has been their kryptonite.
It is. It's absolutely the Horcrux to the thing that they're just not putting together. Is you have to. I think you look at the recipe for really most Super Bowl winners. There's a even if it's a tandem in the backfield, that running game is a well-oiled machine, and it's utilized appropriately. Even the Patriots days of winning so many Super Bowls, it was a trio of running backs, but they could all catch the ball and they all ran the ball the way that they were supposed to in that offense. And you watch Buffalo's offense, and I don't think it's a Ken Dorsey thing, because it's not. This offense isn't any different from what Daboll ran, right? It's the same exact style of offense, but it just doesn't. I just can't imagine a sustainable offense where it's always throw first. I just can't imagine that, right? Like you have to have an established running game. It
has to be balanced.
Same as Pittsburgh, so you can open up the field. You have to be able to open up the field by having a running game established.
Absolutely. And on the inverse, obviously, Tua, they had about a third of the snaps, but only 18 attempts, but he completed 13 of them and 186 yards and a touchdown. Tua looking good. Chase Edmonds carried the ball 6 times. That's it. That's all he had to do, but he scored 2 touchdowns. So Jalen Waddle, though, continues to be one of the best wide receivers in the league to start the season. Another 100-yard game. Big play, Jalen Waddle, 25 yards per catch. 4 catches.
Yeah. He's a special talent, dude. It's so fun to watch. It's so fun to watch a guy where I think there's a lot of question marks, and I think we're going to see a very similar guy in Jameson Williams in a few weeks here in Detroit, where what does the injury do, right? That's what everybody was concerned with Jalen Waddle. Does it slow him down? Does it make him change his pace? Absolutely not. The dude plays the same or faster speed and is adapted very well into the NFL.
And you can go back to the old archives. All the line to gain videos are on our Rally Towel Sports page. Number 1 in my wide receiver breakdown,
Jalen Waddle.
Jamar Chase. Number 2.
Jamar Chase and then Jalen Waddle.
Then Jalen Waddle was number 2. Yeah.
I remember that.
So it's interesting. The biggest thing coming out of this game was not the result, which it should have been, because it's 2 great teams playing each other. Dolphins moving to 3-0. Bills fall to 2-1. The biggest thing coming out of this game, though, was Tua's not concussion, I guess. If any of you saw it, which it was all over Twitter, so I don't know how you didn't, but smacking his head against the back of his head against the turf, getting up, looking like a guy that just did 14 Irish car bombs on St. Patrick's Day, stumbling around. And it was a scary moment. It looked like somebody that was severely concussed. You and I both have, playing football. I believe you've dealt with a concussion. And so I don't know. We're hearing now that Tua is not in concussion protocol. There's obviously an NFLPA investigation going on with how it was handled. Important to note that the doctors that clear Tua are not associated with the NFL. They're not associated with the Dolphins or the Bills or anybody at that game, but they cleared him. They cleared him to come back and play. And I don't know, man. I'm not a doctor, but when I watch, I'm like, oh shit, he's fucked up. Am I?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we
No.
all were thinking that, right?
Yeah, you're not crazy, dude. I don't think people fall on their own free will without their brain being rattled around in their skull a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It feels bad, right? It feels bad, and we talked about this separately in our group chat, and outside of them playing the Bengals tomorrow, like I just don't want to see a guy fucking risk the rest of his life for a sport. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to watch a guy who is 24, 25 play a game that he's getting paid handsomely for and will continue to do so, but put himself at risk to get into his 40s and not be able to be coherent. That's
here's how I see it from Tua's perspective. This is a guy that now here's a guy with my Chris Collinsworth impression, but Tua is somebody that was very highly recruited out of high school. Obviously, went to the University of Alabama. Very successful. Carl, thanks for liking the stream, man. What's up?
What's up, Carl?
Gets drafted very high. I think it was 5th overall, somewhere in that third, somewhere in that realm by the Dolphins. Then he gets hurt, and he's dealing with that. He doesn't play his first year, and then he finally gets in, and then it doesn't go great. There's a lot of doubters, and then the first couple of weeks, he's lighting the league on fire. Everyone is, Tuanon is freaking out. All the Dolphins fans are getting happy, and he's got to probably feel, man, it's clicking. I'm finally where I should be. It's happening right now. And I think I'm not what I'm not about to do is insinuate that it was a head injury. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am going to say is that regardless of it, I think Tua plays tomorrow, and it's a lot of it has to do with how well he's playing right now. And that desire to continue that momentum. You're more willing to push the envelope if your play is at an all-time high, right? We see this with other players' injuries, regardless of the severity. Look at A.J. Green 4 or 5 years ago. Bengals didn't have a shot to win the division. They shut him down for the year. Yep. Same with Joe Mixon a couple of years ago. They didn't have a shot. He had turf toe. They shut him down. So I think it has a little bit to do with how early in the season they're 3-0. He's playing well. Regardless if it's back, ankle, head, whatever. Hopefully it's not the head. I think a little bit of it has to do with how well he's playing. Chat, chime in on the Tua thing. Do you think it's a conspiracy? Are they hiding a head injury here from Tua? We'll find out with the NFLP investigation. Likely takes a couple of weeks. Jaden, is Herbert playing this week? Todd, I haven't heard either way. I haven't heard that he's not. I would imagine he is.
So he is still technically listed as questionable as of right now.
So is Tua.
Yeah. So my guess is that he plays, but I think I was talking about this with a coworker of mine today. What's the harm in sitting him against the Texans?
Who's their backup?
It's the most richest backup in the world, Chase Daniel.
Nice.
So what's the harm in sitting him for a week against the worst team in football?
Sure. Team that tied the Colts.
The Colts. And also has I believe the leader in sacks as well, or tied for the leader in sacks. But what's the harm in that? Right?
Yeah.
Give a guy the opportunity to just fix himself, right?
Sure.
Or at least get better. You're likely not gonna have Keenan Allen on Sunday. You've lost your blindside tackle for the year. You've lost your best edge rusher for at least the next 4 weeks. Give him a break. Take a week off. But I think he plays on Sunday.
Okay. No, I'm with you on that. I think he's there, but I think I see the upside in letting him take a seat. Jaden with another comment. Jaden, we appreciate you, brother, saying Tua, I think, will play tomorrow. There's no way in hell he didn't hit his head. We'll see. We will see when that report comes out for after a couple of weeks here. But speaking of the team that the Dolphins are playing tomorrow, we got to win, Todd. We're on the board in the win column. The Bengals 1-2, taking down the New York Jets in MetLife last Sunday, 27-12. Joe Burrow looked great. 23 of 36, 275 and 3 tutties. The running game, on the other hand, nowhere to be found. 2 receivers for the Bengals almost eclipsed 100. Tyler Boyd did at 105 on 4 catches, a massive touchdown mixed in there, along with T. Higgins with 5 catches for.
Who should have had 100 because that was a touchdown.
That was a fucking touchdown. It was a fucking touchdown. It was a touchdown.
It's absolutely a touchdown.
Yeah, absolute insanity. And if the Bengals hadn't, well, they did challenge it. That's the thing. They fucking challenged it. They looked at it again and still said no touchdown. Absolute.
For what
bullshit.
It's worth, I thought that was a very poorly officiated game as a whole.
I agree. I was seeing a couple of these, just like, what? What is going on? What is going on?
I mean, if you're watching that game and you're listening to Gene the GOAT talk about that play, who said it was a touchdown, I just want to throw that out there. He believed it was a touchdown as well. And when they did not overturn it, all he said was, wow. That's it. That's all he said.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's a guy that's usually pretty insightful. And just to say,
I'm sorry, who are you talking about? Ian or Charles? Who are you talking about? Who are you talking about calling the game, Todd?
Oh, I was talking about Gene when they didn't overturn the call, because they always have Gene Salvatore on the
Gene
Salvatore when they make the decision. And Gene's obviously he's a very well-respected former NFL official. I believe he spent almost 4 decades as an NFL referee, if I'm not mistaken. And when they did not overturn that call, that's all I said was, "Wow, been there."
Insane.
So, yeah,
but nonetheless,
good to get a win and good to get a win on the board. Absolutely.
I had to win. The play calling looked a little bit crisper. The offensive line looked good. I think Burrow went down once. They made Joe Flacco look pedestrian. 28 of 52 for 285 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 3 sacks coming out of Trey Hendrickson, defensive player of the week for the AFC. Yep. Shout out Trey.
He had a great game. Absolutely.
Great, awesome.
I cannot remember who the Jets' backup left tackle is that's playing, but it was nice to watch an edge rusher beat an offensive lineman consistently when it's not La'el Collins going up against TJ Watt or Micah Parsons or whatever side of the. It was nice to see that on the other side. And I'm not shitting on the Bengals. I don't want to come off that way, but when you watch a good edge rusher just take care of business.
Bobby has liked the stream. What's up, Bob? How many hot dogs did you eat, Bob?
If you ate less than 10, I'm disappointed.
You had 5 in the first inning, bro.
That's what I'm saying.
As I talked about earlier, Bobby's got the night off. He's at the Columbus Clippers game for Dime Dog Night.
It's a beautiful thing.
Dime Dog Night. Bobby reported 5 dogs down in the first inning earlier tonight, so I'm excited to hear what he is. Todd, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but
okay.
We're going to rattle through a couple of scores here before we get to one that we're going to dive a little bit deeper in. Todd, I'm just going to ask you for takeaways on the game. Okay. Raiders 0-3, Titans getting first win of the year, 24-22. Derek Carr 26 of 44, 303, 2 tutties, and an INT. Tannehill, on the other hand, 19 of 27, 264, touchdown, interception. Derrick Henry 85 on the ground. Titans first win. Raiders sliding to 0-3. What is going on in Las Vegas? Real quick, Todd.
Bad chemistry. Let's go.
Bad chemistry.
Bad chemistry.
Panthers on the board with a win, 22-14 over the Aints. Jameis Winston, nowhere to be seen in London. We'll get to that here in a little bit, but the Panthers and Baker Mayfield get the first win of the year. Ravens moving on, 37-26 over the Pats. Mac Jones, twisted ankle, looked like he took a frag grenade to the hip.
Can we just stop for a second?
Sure.
His reaction was fucking nuts. It's every dude that has the common cold. That was his reaction. Help me.
It was something.
I mean, they carried him into the locker room. I just want to make sure everybody knows. Mac Jones was requested to be carried into the locker room. And look, an ankle sprain sucks. I get it.
It hurts. Here's the reports that came out that Mac Jones is seeking a second opinion because one doctor diagnosed him with a high ankle sprain. Is he seeking a second opinion clearly or is he seeking a second opinion solely due to the fact that he was made to look kind of like a bitch
For sure.
on national television? Okay.
Okay. I think it's a CYA situation, right? It's got to be, if you make it look bad, you got to make sure you're covering your ass to make sure it is bad.
Just pay a doctor to say you have like a partial, like a hairline fracture in your ankle or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure the Pats have somebody on the payroll. Speaking of Bobby, just 5 dogs in the first inning. Wasn't trying to be miserable, but he crushed some funnel cake fries. Funnel cake fries.
Dude, the Huntington Park doesn't fuck around when it comes to ballpark treats.
Dude, speaking of treats, you know what I picked up at the Aldi the other day? A bag of candy corn and a pack of peanuts. Now, I will not eat. Absolutely. I will not eat candy corn by itself. I won't do it. It's fucking disgusting. No, thank you. No, thank you. But you mix in some peanuts, you got yourself a payday. It tastes exactly like a payday. It's amazing. Aaron Judge just hit another home run. 61.
It's 61.
Love it. Love it. Will he hit 62 with 8 more games after tonight, Todd?
Yes. I hope he gets 60. I'm thinking 64.
Wow.
That's where he lands. The dude's red hot. The Blue Jays pitched around. He got 0 strikes yesterday. So I'm happy to hear that he got 61. I hope he gets 62 tonight. I love it because Aaron Judge is about to get $50 million a year.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Wouldn't it be great if he went to the Red Sox? Oh, that'd be so fun. That would just be so fun. The Mets. Oh.
The Mets have so much money tied up. I don't think they could afford another $50 million next year.
Fuck it.
They'd have to trade DeGrom or something ridiculous.
We've got another generous degenerate in our hands with Charles. Got the Yankees at -1.5, and he's loving it.
He's in a good spot. They're still playing the Blue Jays, so he should be in a good spot at 1.5.
So Ravens moving on over the Pats 37-26. This is the game I wanted to talk about. The Lions. 24-28. Loss to the Minnesota Vikings on the road. The Lions were up by 3. They were up by 3 with a minute to go.
Yep.
53-yard field goal. It's 4th and 3, I believe, is the call. It's roughly 4th and 3. Up until this point, the Detroit Lions were 4 and 6 on 4th downs. On 4th downs. Call him Dan Riverboat Campbell, if you will. This boy's a gambler. And they were converting. 53-yard field goal. It's 4th and 3. You don't have a solid kicker. Do you punt? Do you kick the field goal? Or you go for it? You fucking go for it.
Go for it.
You absolutely go for it.
You're in the same field position no matter what.
No matter what. Go for it. Abso-fucking-lutely go for it. And they didn't. And they kicked a field goal. And it landed somewhere in Wisconsin. And Kirk Cousins, as he does
too, right? If I'm not mistaken,
I think it's retractable.
Okay, it's retractable in Minnesota. Okay,
and Kirk Cousins, as he does in every 1 o'clock game, looked like Troy Aikman and just drove him down the field. And the Lions gave up a late touchdown to lose this game, dude. Here's the one saving grace for Lions fans: Dan Campbell did something that most asshole coaches don't do. An asshole in that situation, you get to the podium. Yeah, I just felt that, we take the 53-yarder there and we make that field goal and you force them to score a touchdown and make an extra point. That's what we do. That's not what Dan Campbell did. Not coach speak, not bullshit, none of that. He stepped up to the mic. He's like, yeah, we should have gone for it. Yeah, I freaking hate it. That's what he said. Something to the extent, I freaking hate it. And yeah, man, I'm happy with the Lions. They're moving into a week. I think next week they got Seattle coming into Ford Field. We'll get to that game in a little bit, but good things happening in Allen Park for the Lions. They've compete with the Eagles. They blew out the Commanders, who we'll get to both those teams here in just a second. And they hung right with the Vikings, who I think are potentially a playoff team this year. So not a bad start to the season if you're the Detroit Lions. Speaking of the Eagles and the Commanders, damn, the Eagles are legit. I'm looking pretty fucking good calling Eagles in the NFC Championship game.
You are right now.
I'm looking pretty fucking good. I like that you threw that in at the end. You are right now.
Right now. I'm just look. We've said it. We're 3 weeks in. But look, here's the thing.
Yeah, they play in a shit division though.
They do. You're right.
Yeah.
They do play in a shit division. So I think the biggest question mark was what was Jalen Hurts going to do this year, right? What was he going to do in terms of being a non-fantasy factor quarterback? Because he always got a ton of garbage points. People credited him to being a strong quarterback based on fantasy value, and he's closed it down in terms of he's playing really good football as a whole. He's playing really good football. I haven't seen it other than Lamar Jackson. I think he's been the best overall quarterback in the NFL thus far.
Dude, Ryan, are you for real?
No way.
Are you for real, Ryan?
Is that true?
Look it up. I'm gonna be sad. Damn, dude, that fucking sucks. Is this real?
Oh, yes.
Dude.
That sucks.
Fuck. Rest in peace. I will be bumping Gangster's Paradise on my way to work tomorrow. Coolio. Thank you so much for that fucking banger. So we got John coming in here saying, really? Tua?
Over Tua. I stand by that.
Rest in peace rolling in from the chat here. So you've got Jalen Hurts over Tua? Is that what the conversation was? Sorry, Ryan distracted me massively with that. Let's bar the Coolio. We'll put out our thoughts and prayers later tonight. So you're saying you have Jalen Hurts other than you have Lamar Jackson over Jalen?
I do right now. I think Lamar Jackson's has been the best quarterback in football thus far.
I've got Jalen. And this is coming from a guy that has roasted this kid since he's been in the league.
You're saying Jalen's has been the best quarterback in football?
He's my MVP right now. Yeah. Jalen is my MVP right now. He's undefeated, and they're beating the shit out of people.
Right. So that was going to be my point, John. You just said it. I don't want to take anything. Tua's had a great year so far. I don't want to take anything away from that. I mean, you don't throw 6 touchdowns in a week and don't get talked about in the MVP conversation at this point in the NFL. And you're right. He does have the number 1 QBR. And Jalen Hurts, I believe, is at 5. Josh Allen, it's Tua. I believe it's Josh Allen, Mahomes, Lamar, somewhere that's like 1 through 4. And then Jalen Hurts scrubs in there at 5. My point is that Jalen Hurts has not had to. He hasn't been in a situation yet this year where he's had to throw the ball late in the game.
That's not what an MVP is, though.
No, but the MVP gets you up by 3 touchdowns right away, though, right?
Yeah,
and they keep a sustainable lead, and he's done that through 3 weeks. Other than Detroit creeping up in the second half of week 1, nobody has even played Philadelphia close. So
you're right.
I think what Jalen Hurts has done really well. I think what he has done that makes me put him in the number 2 position on my top 5 list of quarterbacks so far is that you haven't really even seen the dude break a sweat in terms of making, he's thrown 1 interception. It was a tip pass. I would say that he's probably made 2 bad decisions so far as a quarterback so far this year, and he hasn't had to run the ball as much. He's been able to throw the ball more effectively. That was always his thing. Is like, he's just a running quarterback.
Yeah.
He's been throwing the ball super effectively.
Yes.
And it's working right now. And again, I don't want to take anything away from Tua because statistics tell you
let's be clear here. We've played 3 fucking football games, guys. We've played 3. So I said I got Jalen Hurts. I'm splitting hairs. We don't really know who any of these fucking teams are. I'll say it again. MVPs aren't won in September, just like divisions aren't won in September. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that the Colts didn't win their first 2 football games. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. Play it out. Let's talk in 8 more games. Let's talk in 8 more games when we're there, and we'll see where we're at. I like all the stuff about leading the league in passing, or being second in passing, or can't see over the line. Jaden, that was fucking hilarious. But
he did,
or the
that.
fact you're 3-0 and you're bombing teams out of the water. Let's wait and see. I still have Josh Allen as winning the MVP this year, and I haven't seen a reason not to think that that's going to happen. Right. So we'll see how it plays out. We got a few more scores to get through before we get into the picks. The Colts getting the first win of the year in Lucas Oil Stadium. Call it the oil filter, ladies and gentlemen. The Colts beat the Chiefs 20-17. The Bears squeak one out against the Texans in Soldier Field 23-20. And Todd, shocking development. Ohio State has bad pro quarterback prospects. Anything you want to say about Justin Fields real quick?
The Bears are the worst 2-1 team in football. Let's move on.
Here's a funny thing, and we're gonna get to this game here in a little bit. After the next week, the Bears or the Giants will be 3-1.
Isn't that crazy?
That's insane. I already talked about Jags Chargers, but just a refresher, Jags took down the Chargers 38-10 with that best running defense in the NFL. Rams over the Cardinals 20-12. The Cardinals 1-2. What's going on, Cliff? The Packers over the Buccaneers in what was might have been the ugliest, sexiest football game I've ever seen. 14-12. Jumbotron, what's going on? 14-12. The Pack. 27-23, Falcons over the Seahawks. Battle for Bryce is on, and the Seahawks have just taken the lead.
I love it.
49ers Broncos in what was the worst Sunday night football game I have ever seen.
Can I I'm going to go on give me 2 minutes. I just want to go on a rant here. Russell,
go ahead.
And I want to say this, and we've said it before, and Russell Wilson's the fucking weirdest dude ever. I hate that he gets to get in so many primetime games because he's fucking weird all the time. If you watch during that Sunday night game, nobody sits by him on the sidelines. Nobody, because they know that they don't want to be around this fucking artificial intelligence robot who doesn't do anything but follow what he's computed to follow.
Yep.
He's weird. The Broncos have looked bad. Other than that last drive, literally the last drive of the game, they haven't played well all year. They're the second worst 2-1 team in football.
And their offense actually on that last drive looked pretty good. I want to be fair.
It did.
Yes. Pretty good.
No, I'm not saying that it did. It did. And Jimmy Garoppolo saying, coming off the sidelines, and if they showed a clip where he was like, this guy calls the worst fucking plays. I can't remember exactly, but he basically said that coming off the sidelines.
About Kyle Shanahan?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, it's bad. That was bad. San Francisco concerns me in terms of
And here's the thing. San Francisco was in the NFC Championship game last year.
I know.
A lot. I just can't write them off just yet. I just can't. I'm not concerned yet. I think they'll still be competing for playoffs, if not a lock for a playoff team. But it's just weird. They're still trying to figure it out. I think Jimmy G will get back in the groove of things, and I don't know what it is, but if they're purposefully trying to fuck him up and his value. Oh, we got a dog on set. What's up, buddy?
He felt me get heated talking about Russell Wilson, so I think he came to my rescue.
Dude, Russell Wilson he plugs his asshole into the Tesla charger at night. He's a fucking cyborg. He's a robot. He's not a real person. I know you all saw that fucking Subway commercial where he is. I saw something where somebody spoofed it with the scene from The Dark Knight where the Joker's at the gala, talking to everybody, and it's just Russell Wilson eating his fucking sandwich, just being a fucking weirdo, man. Weird as fuck.
Weird.
So
weird.
it's just Sierra. What are you doing? What are you doing? I just don't. I'm sure he's a great guy. I'm sure he's a great AI robot that was created in a lab somewhere. I'm sure. A couple of comments rolling in here as we move on. Before we get to the Monday night game, Chuck saying, get the ugly primetime games out of the way now. So the last 8 weeks are fire.
That's fair.
Let's see. Ryan said, what was Rogers talking about on the Jumbotron?
He was talking about when he took ayahuasca before the season started.
Finns have their pick. Hope they go down. John, what are you referencing there, buddy? I'm not. Maybe I lost you in the reference. But I appreciate you coming by, John. If you're not already anybody, go ahead and subscribe to us on YouTube. We're also on Twitter as it scrolls around the bottom. Oh, Finns already have their pick. Oh, okay, I got you. Their draft pick. Gotcha. Thank you for clarifying that. All right, Cowboys, Giants. Cowboys over the Giants, 23-16. Let's just be honest. Were the Giants going to be 3-0? Probably not. Don't know why I picked the Giants on that parlay. I would have covered on the fucking over. If I took the Cowboys, I would have hit on that motherfucker. But I didn't because I'm an idiot. Anyway, Cowboys defense is legit.
Set a record. Most pressures on a quarterback in a single game.
Wow.
27?
So, okay. That's a lot.
and
you've got a guy in Micah Parsons. Now here's a guy. You got a guy in Micah Parsons that can literally wreck an entire offense. Did you see that play where he cut in on Lewinsky and just knocked the guard on his fucking ass?
It's like nuts, dude.
Like it was a high schooler playing against a middle school team.
Anybody that doubted him because of him sitting out the COVID year is absolutely batshit crazy.
Yeah,
that dude never missed a step. So I just want to put
just
it
like
into
Jamar
reference.
Chase, right?
Yes, yeah, just like Jamar Chase, even Penei Sewell as well.
All right,
67 total plays for New York. 27 of those were quarterback pressures, and I believe Daniel Jones got sacked 7 times.
Oof. Speaking of sacks, one thing we didn't mention is Carson Wentz was sacked 437 times against the Eagles.
Yeah, was it 9 sacks or something ridiculous?
It was 5 of the first 8 dropbacks were sacks.
Yeah, it was nuts.
That is insane. Do you know how hard that is to give up a sack that many times as an offensive line? Do you know how hard that is?
The statistical probability of that is less than 0.000%.
They've got Ray from the fucking Remember the Titans on there, and he just hates Carson Wentz. They need Gary Bertier to tell him, Ray, you're off. And he's going to say, Coach Boone don't cut his players. Remember that, Gary? And he's just say, I had you cut, Ray. Get him the fuck out of there. That's what they need in DC is a Gary Bertier. We all need a Gary Bertier in our life. God damn it.
It's true.
Greatest football movie ever made. All right, man. I think it's time. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for your week 4 picks. Let's get it popping. Todd, Are you going to be writing these down for me?
I can.
Do you have pencil and pad? We have to keep ledger, ladies and gentlemen. We are keeping track of our picks throughout the year. Bobby has the record from last week, so we'll just next week we'll go over our records after 4 weeks, see where everybody's at. And John with a Hall of Fame comment here, John. Now there's an O-line that gets coal in their stocking. That is something Chris Collinsworth absolutely will say come Christmas time on a broadcast. Absolutely, he will utter those words. Now there's a line that gets coal in their stocking. He's going to do one of these. Slide right in and say it. You ready?
Ready. Let's do it.
Ready. All right, ladies and gentlemen, with the first matchup tomorrow in the jungle, the whiteout, the 3-0 White Hot Dolphins come into the jungle to take on Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, donning their white tiger helmets, which may be the sexiest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Next to my wife, there aren't many other things that
safe.
rev my engine. Thank you. That rev my engine like those white tiger helmets. Good God Almighty, those are beautiful.
Yeah,
Todd, this is going to be such a fun fucking football game. We've got Tua, we've got Burrow, we've got Tyreek Hill, we've got Jamar Chase, we've got Eli Apple, and of course I'm bringing up Eli Apple because
the cheetah called him out.
Let's talk about the drama around this game before we get into talking the X's and O's around this game. Tyreek Hill, after their exciting win to move to 3-0, called out Eli Apple. He said, Eli Apple,
Cheetah's coming for him.
Cheetah's coming for you, boy. I got unfinished business or something to the extent. So that Tyreek Hill called him out. Of course, what he's referring to is at the end of the first half of the AFC Championship game, Eli Apple made a tackle on Tyreek Hill that would have prevented a touchdown, which obviously led to the Bengals being able to come back and eventually win that game over the Chiefs. You haven't seen the white tiger helmet.
Tune into Amazon Prime.
I'll post it in the chat. I'll post it in the chat here in just a second when Todd gets going. When I eventually turn over the mic after my soliloquy here. But Eli Apple has said nothing. You've not heard a peep out of Eli Apple. Reporters have asked him about it. He hasn't said anything. The rest of the Bengals defensive backs, on the other hand, have not been quiet. For instance, Cheeto Awuzie coming out in the comments. Jesse Bates coming out with a comment saying, I guess Eli forgot to buy him Super Bowl tickets last year, so I think he's pretty upset about that. Chidobe Awuzie coming out saying that, or was it Chidobe or was it Mike Hilton that came out? And I think it was Mike Hilton that said, he said, I guess he's obviously still thinking about it.
Yeah, Mike Hilton said that. He said that in the press conference this morning or this afternoon.
Yeah, he's obviously still thinking about it. So I think it's an interesting dynamic, and what I don't understand is why you would give a defense that has been one of the best in the NFL through the first 3 weeks. Grain of salt. It's only 3 football games. One of the best defenses in the NFL. Why are you giving them bulletin board material? They're at a home game. They're going to be honoring Willie Anderson. That crowd is not working a full day. They're taking off at noon. They're going down to the banks. They're getting drunk as fuck going into that stadium, and they're going to be so insanely. Why are you giving the crowd? Why are you giving that defense any more bulletin board material? And the answer is Tyreek Hill. He's good. And Mike Hilton said it best. He's like, yeah, it's Tyreek. That's what he does. He talks.
We
let him talk. And he had said that the Bengals are gonna do their talking on Thursday. A little comment coming from John. John, I think we got a Finns fan coming in here, so I appreciate it. John, he said no comment. Wussy. I like it. I like the banter here. Keep it coming, baby, because we're gonna get hot here in a minute. So Todd, we got another comment coming in here from Charles, Bengals fan. Huge Bengals fan is Charles. He says Miami and Tua on a short week. Defense was on the field for 93 plays. They'll be gassed. Florida getting fucked by a hurricane, so players, coaches distracted, concerned about family. This has Bengals -4 as a 5-unit Johnson. Oh boy, Charles laying it down.
He might be more of a degenerate than we are, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. I don't get this. Are they having water bottle throwing contests? I don't get that. Todd, do you get that one?
No, I don't know the context of that.
I don't understand that. Did Eli Apple throw a water bottle or something? I'm not sure.
Maybe so.
Anyway, so going into Thursday night, Dolphins look great. They're 3-0. Bengals the offense looked anemic the first 2 weeks. Seemed to have found something that has clicked last week against the Jets. Maybe that's what they needed, a warm-up game. I don't know. What are you looking at going into this? Who are you taking?
So the big thing that I'm looking at I think something that Cincinnati has to establish this week that they haven't established through the first 3 weeks is getting the ground game going. Get Joe Mixon going or Perrine going, whoever you want it to be. Get one of those two guys going, set the tone. Charles has a very valid point. Miami's defense on a short week just spent over 70% of the game on the field. So you're traveling, he's right, traveling from South Beach to Cincinnati. They had to travel in a short day because of the hurricane, right? So I believe they traveled Sunday night rather than traveling on Monday, which is what they would normally do to get out of the area. So you've already skewed the schedule just a little bit. And I think some of that plays into a factor in a player's psyche, because everybody that is an athlete at one point in time in their life, and you can tell me if you were, there's bliss in the routine as an athlete.
Yeah, 100%.
The way you establish yourself, it really helps. So get the ground game running. Miami on a short week after spending over 70% of the time on the field on the defensive side of the ball. And I think you're right. I think it was nice to see Joe Burrow and T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and Tyler Boyd reestablish the connection. Tyler Boyd specifically, because he really wasn't involved in the first 2 weeks. It was nice to see the connection reestablished. We saw him get the ball to Hayden Hurst consistently over the first 3 weeks. It feels like things are moving in the right direction. Everything feels like it's moving forward. We're not moving backward. With that being said, I believe that this will come down to a fourth quarter possession game. I think this will be a closer game than people
the spread's only -3.5 for the Bengals right now, I believe. Unless it's moved, Charles. Unless it's moved. You had mentioned -4, unless you're going to sell some points there for that extra juice. But yeah, I think it was at -3.5 last I had checked.
It's at 4 right now.
-4. Wow, line moving to 4. Maybe has a little bit. Mary, like in the stream. Thanks, Mary. We appreciate you.
So I look. I'm taking the Bengals.
You're all good, John. Keep it up.
But I'm taking the Bengals by a field goal.
Okay. Okay. So they don't. You're saying they don't cover.
I don't think they cover now.
Yeah. So we're looking at -4 is what we're all seeing right now. This could be due to the fact of the short travel week. This could be due to the fact of the the defense being on the field for 75% of the game. This could be due to the fact that Tua is banged up, whether it's his head, his back, his ankle, it doesn't matter. He's banged up. The Bengals offense is starting to click, right? Here's what I'm seeing out of this game. The Dolphins defense is not the Cowboys defense. This Dolphins defensive line is not the Steelers defensive line. Say what you want about the Steelers as a whole. Their problems are on the offensive side of the ball. It has nothing to do with them getting to the quarterback, right? At least when TJ Watt's on the field. Bengals in their first 2 weeks. This is John. I'm just sharing some insight here. They went against the two top pass rushers in the league, in TJ Watt and Micah Parsons. So yeah, they gave up a lot of sacks. Todd, how many times was Joe Burrow sacked last week?
2 times.
Was it 2? I believe it was 1.
I thought it was 2.
Maybe it is 2.
It's either 1 or 2. We're splitting hairs.
Where are we seeing 16 sacks, John? I'm seeing 6. 6 sacks. Explain 16 sacks in 3 weeks. Is he talking about the Bengals? What are we talking about here? Anyway, here's the thing.
Yeah, 15 sacks for Burrow in 3 weeks.
15 sacks in 3 weeks. All of those were in week 1 and 2. All of those were in week 1 and 2. Dolphins defensive line, it's not the Cowboys defensive line. It's not the Steelers defensive line. It's just not. Let's say it's bad. It's just not that. It's just not. I'm sorry. It's just not that. They don't have a guy like TJ Watt. They don't have a guy like Micah Parsons that can absolutely wreck everything that you do if you fuck up once. They don't have that. What they have is Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill and Tua, if he's healthy. I'd like to see how much they're going to utilize Chase Edmonds. I think that he's underutilized so far in the early goings of this season. But I really honestly look for the Bengals pass rush to be a big factor in this game, more so than Joe Burrow. But it is going to come down to a 1 possession. But I call that a touchdown. Bengals win by 6.
I like it.
Moving on. Go ahead.
So I just want to say one thing real quick before we move on. I think the sack statistic is an easy backbone. He just said it. So Melvin Ingram has 2 sacks this year, John. I just want to reiterate that 2 total sacks through 3 weeks. And as a linebacker, he could line up as an edge rusher as well. So I don't want to take anything away from him because Melvin Ingram is an outstanding athlete. You watch
he's just not what he was. I think that's okay. He's just a little bit older.
He's just a little bit older, but you watched him in that specifically in that Baltimore game. He was all over the field. He played great in the Baltimore game. I can't say as much because I didn't get to watch a lot of the Buffalo game in real time. But Melvin Ingram has played very well through the first 3 weeks. I think a lot of what we've talked about for the Bengals specifically is offensive line chemistry and how it takes some time to establish the chemistry. We watched the Bengals exterior offensive line exclusively through the first 2 weeks be the 31st rated tackles in the NFL as a tandem, and that dropped into the 20s after week 3. And again, that's the Jets, right? So that's a different that's a different pass rushing defense. Yeah. But the chemistry is getting better. Things are progressing. And I don't think Corey and I are trying to say that they're not going to get pressure on Joe Burrow because it's going to happen. That's football. Yeah. You get pressure on the quarterback no matter what. But I think that being able to adjust the offense like they did in week 3 is going to play into a short week for Miami in week 4 on playing on a defense where the juice isn't at 100%. That's where I'm going with that.
I also think that a lot of the issues on the offensive line aren't necessarily the offensive line, and I think some of those have been recognized. Zach Taylor's play calling. You have to set things up for your offensive line to get some confidence. You got to set up plays where Joe that don't take long to develop, like the first play of scrimmage last week. A quick in route to Tyler Boyd that pops off for 7 yards. Get something going. Yeah. Get something going to where Joe can get the ball out of his hands quickly. And the offensive line can start to build some confidence behind themselves. And you saw that confidence exude itself on the final drive in the fourth quarter. Joe Mixon taking a seat, a little banged up on the ankle. Samaje Perine ends up being the leading rusher for the Cincinnati Bengals. And it's all due to that fourth quarter drive where everybody knew they were running the ball, but they couldn't stop them. Yep. They couldn't stop them. John, I'm doing my best. I'm trying to be I have many times on this program gone at the Miami Dolphins, and I'm not going to do it tonight because John, you're new to the show, and I appreciate you coming by, man. And I love the conversation.
Yeah,
I love the conversation.
We're here for the back and forth.
You guys make the show. The guys that are jumping in and talking to us and having a good time. You guys make the show. So John, we appreciate you. Thank you. It's gonna be a fun time tomorrow, man. And I hope you subscribe and you come back to hear more about how the Bengals won by 6.
My man.
We love you, John. Thank you so much, man. Next game on the docket, we got Vikings and it's not New Orleans. Oh, cheese and crumpets. They're in London. 9:30, dude. 9:30.
It's the Jolly Roger New Orleans Saints.
9:30. Football starts at 9:30. But what's this? Where's Jameis? Jameis, where are you? Can somebody check a Publix? He's not there. He's not. Hey,
let me just say, I was about to make a joke where they don't allow former misdemeanor people committed misdemeanors in the United States into London.
Oh, yeah.
Insert crab leg incident of 2013.
So the reports are today that taking first-team reps, majority of first-team reps,
Red Rocket
was none other than number 14 out of TCU, the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton, baby. Andy Dalton could be back, and this is what we need. Okay, the president has said COVID's over. Okay, great. We've done that. We're back. We're not wearing masks. You don't have to wear a mask on an airplane. I can drink my fucking Woodford on the rocks in peace without wearing a mask anymore. We're back there. But the final step, we're going to concerts, football games, everything's back to normal. But the final thing that we need is Andy Dalton playing meaningful snaps once again for us to get back to normal as a goddamn country. All right? That's what we need is Andy Dalton back. All right? Aaron Mailing coming in with a comment. Look at these sexy boys. Hey, Aaron.
That's been said tonight so far across the board.
Across the board, John with the second most accurate thing. This is a fun show. You guys are okay.
That's the best. That's actually probably the best compliment I've ever received. So thank you, John. I appreciate that. That's the best feedback we've gotten because means we can get better.
Yeah, and do you know where OK came from?
I don't.
It was a club called the Old Kinderhooks. And they said that if you were in the club, they would say, hey, this guy's okay in the Old Kinderhooks. And that's where you get the phrase okay. Didn't expect to come here for knowledge, but you fucking got it. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Go ahead and Google that. Yeah. Oh, what a night. Anyway, Vikings, Saints. The Vikings have returned to England to conquer. And Todd, that's what I got here. I got the Vikings winning this one pretty easily. What about you?
Yeah, I think that Aaron's prediction of the Saints being a sleeper in the NFL this year is incorrect.
Mm-hmm.
You can't win games when your defense stays on the field for more than half the game.
Sure.
It's a strong defense. I don't want to take anything away from that, but does Kirk Cousins playing at 9:30 in the morning make him better? Is it like a thing where the earlier he plays, the better he gets?
Maybe, dude. Maybe he is the morning dove. That is Kirk Cousins. The morning dove.
So maybe that means if he plays at 9:30, that all of a sudden he turns into an all-pro quarterback and he just throws for 4 tutties.
It might happen. He might be Michael Vick. What if he just busts out for 130 on the ground? You never know.
Jesus
anyway, who
Christ.
are you taking?
I'm taking the Vikings here. I think the Vikings. I think this is a pretty easy win for Minnesota, actually.
And that's the thing is these London games are kind of a coin flip, but at the end of the day, you got to go to the roster and look at what's on the paper and decide on these London games.
And it's a blast. It's a great place to watch a football game.
This is a guy that's been there. Here's a guy.
Here's a guy. It's a cool. It's fun. The stadium will be absolutely electric. You won't be able to hear yourself think for 20 minutes until some of the drunk people start scattering themselves out to smoke more cigarettes than watch football, and then you're good to go.
Dude, they should just let people fucking rip them. It's England. Who cares?
Dude, I was still a smoker when we went there, and I really felt that way.
Yeah, those just like rip darts, dude. It's England. It's England.
Yeah, but a fucking pack of cigarettes over there is like $10. It's nuts. Worse than New York.
Is it $10 or 10 pounds?
$10. So it's like, I don't know, 7 pounds or something like that. 7.5 pounds, but it's like $10 for a pack of cigarettes over there.
So it's like New York.
Got it. It's a little bit worse than New York because they ain't got
dude. They're like $12 now. That shit's fucking crazy.
Good thing I quit smoking.
Jeez. They're $8 here in Michigan.
Woo wee. God.
Yeah,
damn,
dude.
I couldn't afford it.
It's just crazy. It's just crazy. Next matchup that we got in Forward Field, the Lions taking on the Seahawks at 1:00. I've got this here. This is a game that the Lions have to win. And if you're a Lions fan, and I told you at the beginning of the season that you would be 500 after 4 weeks, you would sign up for that shit every time, especially knowing that 2 of those games are against the Eagles and the Vikings. You're going to sign up for that shit every time. The Lions this year are going to beat the teams that they should beat. Okay? And the Seahawks are a team that they should beat, and they will. Lions up to 500, and they take down the Seahawks on Sunday.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited. So I think it sucks that you're not going to get to see DeAndre Swift this week.
Right.
But Amon-Ra St. Brown is actually also going to be a game time decision, more than likely going into Sunday. But I like the Lions at Ford Field. I think it's a better pick here. I like the idea of them being 500 through 4 weeks. I think that fan base needs the dub. It's going to be electric at Ford Field. It'll be a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. So both of us riding high. So far, we're 3 for 3 together here, Todd. But this is one that might split us. Kind of a coin flip. This one going on in the Steel City, formerly known as Heinz Field. You got the Jets coming into town to take on Mitch Trubisky and the Steelers. Todd, who you got in this one?
So I think this is one of the more interesting matchups of the week because you're looking at a Jets team that has to fucking run the AFC North gauntlet weeks 1 through 4.
Mhm.
What a shitty start to a schedule for New York.
But it's like kind of like walking around with ankle weights before you go and run a race. You know what I mean? you take them off, and
you're just flying high, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
I've been kind of torn on this game because I believe we will get an introduction to 2022-23 Zach Wilson on Sunday.
Zach Wilson's back.
He will be back, and I'm really interested to see the chemistry with him and Garrett Wilson, because Garrett Wilson to me is my rookie of the year thus far through the short NFL season.
Wow,
has played excellent. Has come down with some really next level catches so far.
Interesting
through 3 weeks in the NFL. With that being said, I got to take Pittsburgh, and I got to take them at home. I think the Jets game with the Browns was kind of a fluke. Again, I think the Browns lost that game. The Jets didn't win that game. I don't think the Steelers defense allows a game like that to happen. I think Zach Wilson will also have some growing pains with this being his first week. Everybody else has had 3 weeks to warm up. He has not. He's going to make some bad passes. Pittsburgh secondary probably capitalizes on that at least twice. And then you're talking about a 2-possession game at that point in time to me. So I'm taking Pittsburgh.
Interesting. I am disagreeing with both you and John. I'm taking the Jets here. Getting Zach Wilson back is a huge upgrade for this offense. And when you're talking about secondary, how can you forget what the Jets have in the secondary in Ahmad Sauce Gardner, dude? This guy shut down Jamar. Jamar Chase was not what he was supposed to be against the.
He still has not given up a touchdown.
He still has not given up a touchdown since his senior year of college.
No, his senior year of high school, bro.
Oh, excuse me. His senior year of fucking high school. This guy is next fucking level. He is the real deal. And if Najee Harris's production is going to be just like that, then the Steelers are going to have to rely on Mitch Trubisky's arm and George Pickens. I got the Jets defense shutting down the pass game. There's nowhere to go for that running game. And I got the Jets winning this one. Going with the Jets. We got a couple of other guys here. Let's see. Jets stink on toast. Aaron said, I made my pick before I knew Wilson was in. I'll honor it, but I'd switch to Pittsburgh. So he's going the other way. He's saying that Flacco, a guy that was 50% completion percentage against the Bengals, is a guy that would be better suited to lead the offense.
Oh, that's right. Aaron's already submitted his picks too. So
Aaron's already submitted his picks, but honestly, I would probably go with the Jets over the Steelers regardless, because I feel like the Jets secondary is better. The Steelers pass rush without TJ Watt is lackluster, and I think regardless, Zach Wilson or Joe Flacco, either one of those are better plays at quarterback than Mitch Trubisky. The running games have been negligible on either. It doesn't matter. Neither one of them matters, whether you're looking at the Jets running game or the Steelers running game. Obviously, on paper, you're thinking Najee Harris is a way better running back. He may be, but in this offensive scheme that we've seen so far this year, the Steelers have not been able to utilize that. Not even in the passing game like they did last year with check down Ben in his final hurrah. So I've just seen more out of the Jets. I think the weapons, which is just a fucking crazy sentence to say, isn't it? But yeah, it's going to be an interesting matchup, none the least. Toilet Bowl. Aaron with a comment. Yo, Sauce was a guy that game. Never seen Chase look so pedestrian. Guy is legit. 100%. 100%. I think he's better than Jalen Ramsey.
Wow. Holy shit. That's a bold. I mean, I guess it's not super bold because Jalen Ramsey's pretty much.
Jalen Ramsey gets fucking toasted against premier receivers.
He does.
Toasted.
That's fair.
He gets toasted. He makes his money on the scrubs of the AFC South, and now he does it on the scrubs of the NFC West. Put him against the number like a top tier receiver. He gets toasted. Toasted.
I like John's comment better about Mitch Trubisky's mom. Better be careful. She's at the game.
Oh, John. You mean Zach Milfson? Yeah, he's coming for that. Coming for that ass. Are we even? Is Mitch Trubisky's mom well? Like, do we know? I just don't want to be talking ill of the dead.
We'll find out when she's walking out of the game was on Zach Wilson's arm. So stay tuned for that, I guess.
Look at this call. Look at this call. Look at this call from Chuck right here. 2 TDs out of the rook. Maybe so. Maybe so. And I know all the rest of the AFC North fans are hoping for it. So we got a first split of the night. I'm taking the Jets. Todd's taking the Steelers. Bears, Giants. If I had told you that at the end of week 4, one team, either the Bears or the Giants, barring a tie, would be 3-1. What would you say? Would you say I'm fucking crazy? What fucking planet are you on? Is Andy Dalton playing quarterback again in London? What's going on, Corey? What are you thinking? Todd, I've taken the first 2 games first. I want to give you the perspective of taking this one first.
Boy, the Bears are bad. The fact that I have to say that the Chicago Bears are 2-1, and I have to say that they're bad, the sentence doesn't make sense in my head.
Right.
I think it's interesting that you brought up that Justin Fields just isn't an NFL quarterback. I don't know if I'm there yet. I don't know if I'm quite there just yet.
That's not what I said. Let me be clear. I said, shocker, Ohio State doesn't have I said an Ohio State quarterback isn't a great NFL prospect is what I said.
So I even there, I'm not 100% there yet because the Bears' offensive line is horrendous.
Sure.
At pass offense, rushing offense, they're fine. Look at what Khalil Herbert's done through 3 weeks. Khalil Herbert has
that motherfucker's going to start. He's going to be starting.
He will because Dave Montgomery is not going to play on Sunday, and Khalil's going to go out and get 90 yards and 30 yards out of the backfield, and people are going to be like, "Why are we wasting our time on Dave Montgomery when we have Khalil Herbert in the backfield?" But Jesus Christ, the Bears are bad. I got to take the Giants because I just think the Bears are that bad. I think they might be the worst team in football.
The Bears, really? I think I'm with you on that. The Commanders being close second, but I think I'm with you on that one. Putting up a question here for everybody. I want you guys to drop your comments in the chats because Aaron just alluded to it here a little bit in the chat. Aaron, we appreciate you. Tell Mary we said hello.
Hello.
Why is this giving me an issue? But we here at Rally Towel have something called fuck, it's escaping me right now, Todd. What do I say? Fuck, what's the number one? What's the thing I say? Fraudulent enemy number one.
That's like you being like, "Hey, you that guy in that movie?"
Yeah, I know. My wife does that shit to me. My wife does that shit to me all the fucking time. She's like, "Hey, will you grab that thing over there?" Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Hey, will you go grab my my phone? Okay, yeah, sure, honey. Where'd you put it? Just over there on that thing. What? What did you just say? We have a thing here at Rally Town Sports called fraudulent enemy number one. We called the Cardinals out so fucking early last year. It was ridiculous. So fucking early. It's fraudulent enemy number one. I want you to drop this in the chat. We'll get to it later after our picks tonight. Who is the biggest pretender through 3 weeks? We'll leave this up on the screen here for a little bit before we get back to it. But rolling back to Giants, Bears. I think the Bears might be the worst team in the league next to the Commanders, Todd. But one thing that I was so excited about out of watching that Monday Night Football game is Saquon is back, man. Saquon Barkley looks so good. He's running the ball well. He's hitting the holes. He's breaking tackles. And this league is just better when he's there. You mentioned it earlier about running backs, that take you back to that true form, right? You had mentioned guys like Derrick Henry, and you had mentioned I forget who the main individual that Nick Chubb, yes, of course. Nick Chubb and Jonathan Taylor. But I think Saquon is right there in that conversation as a guy that just can do it all. He can catch the ball out of the backfield and he can pound the rock for you as well. So I'm leaning Giants here. The G-Men are 3-1. Exciting times. A very interesting AFC South matchup. The Tennessee Titans travel to the oil filter to take on the Colts. It's the two teams that everyone was putting at the top. It was Colts, Titans. While the Titans have won a game and the Colts have won one game, the Titans have beat a winless team. The Colts have beaten the Chiefs. I think things are starting to click in Indianapolis. And I also just picked up Matt Ryan on the waiver wire in one of my fantasy leagues, just in case he starts to pop things off. Michael Pittman should be back. I think he was back last week as well, wasn't he? Was he not?
Yeah, he played last week.
Yeah, Michael Pittman was back last week. I'm taking the Colts over the Titans in this one. Who do you got?
Yeah, so I also have the Colts. I think that the Colts are going to be better at stopping Derrick Henry than the Raiders were last week. And by stopping, I mean I don't think he gets 58 yards in the first half like he did against the Raiders. And he also had 40 yards over the air by that point in time going into the first half. So the Raiders were playing from behind for a lot of the time in that game. But I think we saw – look, this win against the Chiefs isn't a fluke, right? I think you saw what the Colts are actually capable of as a team as a whole. And through 2 weeks, you're like, oh, God, they're fucking terrible, right?
Yeah.
This isn't a good team at all. And I think that there still are some pretty large gaps there. I think, again, you saw without Michael Pittman in the lineup against Jacksonville, who they haven't beaten in Jacksonville since 2014. But you saw Matt Ryan really struggle. A big question mark to me, even though I am taking the Colts, is Jonathan Taylor going to play on Sunday? Because he hasn't practiced in 3 days. Or 2 days, sorry. That concerns me a little bit. But I don't trust Tennessee's defense. I actually read something today. I was reading an article about A.J. Brown specifically, about him being traded to the Eagles. And I don't know if you heard this or not, but he was going to retire from football to play baseball if he wasn't traded away from Tennessee.
Say that again.
So A.J. Brown was going to retire from football and trade and go to baseball if he wasn't traded away on draft day.
Wow.
And he said specifically it's because of Vrabel. He feels like Vrabel doesn't coach an NFL team well. He doesn't appreciate talent.
This is somebody that we as a podcast at least have, and we've talked to the guys from Second and Broadway Second and Victory, and they've come on and said that how much they love Vrabel as a fan base, and we have felt that he's a guy that can connect with his players. So it's interesting to hear that out of one of their stars.
And so I thought a little bit more about it, and I thought, all right, well, where does A.J. Brown fit into that mix, right? And Mike Vrabel comes from the Bill Belichick era of football, right, where it's a different coach-player relationship.
Yeah.
And I think for a guy like A.J. Brown, maybe that's a blown-up perspective of everything, but he can't be the only person that feels that way, right? Right. So that's where I think, like, all right, well, Tennessee's starting to lose. People are losing their trust in Ryan Tannehill, right? We're watching people already, even in Titans Nation, starting to say, like, all right, when's Malik going to get on the field? So I think you're going to start seeing that a little bit more and more. And I just think that this is I'm not saying the Colts are going to go like 4-13 or something ridiculous, but to go from the top team in the AFC where you don't make the playoffs, that's a big flip in the transition of football.
Absolutely. I think we said this at the beginning of the season. Only one of those teams out of the AFC South is going to make the playoffs. It's going to be one of these two teams. Potentially, you look at the Jaguars, man, coming up. We'll get to them here in a minute, and Aaron's dropping a comment. Aaron, we'll get to your comment here. But I want to get to one of our day one homies, Rob, coming in with a comment here saying, can't believe I come in, and the first thing out of your mouth is Bears are the worst team. 2-1, my guy. Even though they are awful, there are worse teams. Not many, but a few at least. So the few at least in my mind, I would throw out Washington, Houston, and maybe Seattle.
Yeah, Seattle's pretty bad. I do forget that they're really bad now. It's been a long time since we've had to say, like, Seattle's actually really bad.
Yeah. Okay, so we're splitting hairs at this point. The Bears are going to have a top 5 pick next year, Rob. I just, which maybe will serve them well. Maybe they can go get a top wide receiver for Justin Fields or a left tackle or something to help them out a little bit.
You go grab that dude from Pitt that went to USC, Jordan Addison. He's 6. Go. It's Megatron all over again. So just pick him.
John coming to the comment. Henry and Hilliard will run like cray. He's taking the Titans in this one. I'm taking the Colts, man. Todd and I are both taking the Colts. Aaron with a comment here. He says, what percentage chance do you put the Jags at winning this division through week 3?
Not high.
I'd say, really?
I
think they have a better chance than the Titans.
Well, we're in week 4, right? So he's talking about historically, right? They're the best team in the AFC South right now.
Talking about the Titans are?
No, the Jags, right? Maybe I'm reading the question
What
wrong.
Percentage chance do you put the Jags at winning the division?
I read it wrong. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I misinterpreted the question. I'd
say 50%.
I was going to say 45. So, yeah, we're splitting hairs at 50. Yeah. So, 50-50 shot now with how the season starts. But again, we're through 3 weeks. So, that's a bold number.
I mean, that's kind of a bullshit answer on our part. They either will or they won't, right? So, it is literally a fifth.
We did teeter the fence a little bit, but that's fine. Whatever.
Yeah, I think they're right. 40 to 50, somewhere in that range. Honestly, if I had to put betting odds on it. But yeah, I think they were plus 700 at the beginning of the year, plus 7,000 or something like that to win the AFC South at the beginning. It's absolutely insane. John with another comment coming in here. We're gonna get back to the picks, but we love the chat. Keep it flowing. God, you guys are fucking on fire tonight. John saying that's why McDaniel's so successful early on. He connects. Vrabel came from the college ranks, but I also think Vrabel played in the NFL, and he played, and like Todd was saying, he played under Bill Belichick, and Belichick is not the norm. If you look at a lot of the guys that are coaching now, you look at guys like Kyle Shanahan, McDaniel, Zach Taylor, obviously Sean McVay is another name that gets thrown in here. These guys connect with their players 100%, John. You're exactly right. They're more about the individuals and getting to know them, and it's not like the football that we grew up on where you better be running off the field every single fucking time. It's like, dude, I've been in this league for fucking 3, 4, 5, 7 years. Stop telling me to fucking jog off the field. I know what it takes to be successful. I've been here. I've done it. They're professionals. They're not college athletes. So I get that. I get that point, John. Rob with a comment says, now New England is screwed with Hoyer. I mean, Hoyer's a seasoned veteran. This guy, it's not like it's not going to be a massive drop off from Mac Jones to Brian Hoyer. Is he as good as Mac Jones? No, that's why he's not fucking starting, but I don't think it's going to be a massive drop off. John coming in saying the Bears are awful. I grew up there. I follow them still. And we can all relate to that. John, we are a small market podcast. We focus on the Bengals, the Bears, the Browns. We talk about the Steelers because Bobby's a Steelers fan and we love Bobby.
Yeah.
The Lions, the Bills, and the Titans. Those are the teams, and the Colts. Those are the teams that we talk about because they're small market, and so we give some love to them for sure. So we all can appreciate following a team even though we've been through hell. 100%. Aaron, another comment here. Hoyer has the longest losing streak of any QB in the NFL. That is insane. I had no idea.
Yep,
I had no fucking clue that is fucking crazy. That is insane. Has he played a game in the last 10 years? That's fucking funny.
He has, but he's lost them all, it looks like.
Yeah, sounds like.
Fuck if I know.
Right, sounds like it. All right, let's keep rocking and rolling. Bounce back game potential here in Houston as the Chargers go in to take on the Texans at 1:00. Todd, what are you thinking here? Pretty. I mean, how do you bet against the Chargers in this one, right? You got to go on the Chargers.
Yeah, I think you take the Chargers even if Chase Daniel starts, right? Like you're taking them even though they're going into Houston.
They haven't won a game.
It's not going to be a complete blowout like I think everybody thinks they're going to get going into Houston, but you can't take the team. I can't take the team that's like, oh, they're the worst team in football. I'm not going to take them against a team that I thought could be a contender for the AFC, winning the AFC. So I'm taking the Chargers here. Yeah,
pretty easy pick them there. Next one, an interesting matchup, but one that I think we're still probably going to end up on the same side of the fence here. Down in Atlanta, taking on the Dirty Birds, we got Aaron's Browns. Of course, developments out of Cleveland has been that Myles Garrett was in a car accident, discharged from the hospital on Monday evening. I have not heard that he isn't playing, so it would be pretty amazing considering he flipped his Porsche 911 on a straight road out in Cleveland, wet night, swerved to dodge an animal, and the car flipped. Obviously, he's probably traveling at a pretty high speed, but nonetheless, he's okay, and that's what's important. And the Browns in first place in the AFC North. And if you're a Browns fan, you're signing up for this. We knew their schedule was easy coming into the season. We knew it was one that they could manage and they could come out a win. We didn't think let me put it this way. We figured they were probably going to lose one of the first 3 games. I think do we think it was going to be the Jets? Probably not. They should probably be 3-0. But if you said 2-1, yeah, that makes sense. Moving into week 4 for the Browns. Yeah, totally makes sense. Going against Atlanta, I think they're going to 3-1. I think the Browns win this football game.
Yep. I think it's a pretty unique fact to say that the number 1 and number 3 rusher are facing off against each other in this game, and Nick Chubb and Cordarrelle Patterson. But I don't think the Falcons have a response to the Browns offense. So I think this game is a little bit more high scoring than people anticipate it being, but I am taking Cleveland here. I think Nick Chubb has another 100 plus yard game on the ground. So if you are not starting Nick Chubb in fantasy football, which if you aren't, you're not playing fantasy football.
Yeah, what the fuck are you doing?
Make sure that you have him in your RB1 spot and that you're flexing out somebody else. If it is Cordarrelle Patterson, good for you. You have 2 of the best running backs statistically in the NFL right now. But I don't think Atlanta has a response to Nick Chubb right now.
Aaron coming in here with a comment that I think that I'm going to put in the category of like when you're playing your buddy in fantasy football and you text him like, "Hey man, you got this," in the same breath of like saying like you're hoping that you're putting a reverse jinx on him and so that your team actually wins this game. Scary trap game, I think Aaron is feeling here for the Browns. Aaron, of course, one of our co-hosts here on Rally Tau Sports, coming in with Falcons offense is sneaky good. Browns defense is sneaky bad. I'll assume no Miles. I actually think the Falcons win this one, guys. So Aaron, I think playing favor with the gods. One thing I'll say, if Brissett was first or second year quarterback and was playing all the same, Browns fans would have thought they found their savior. That's a good point. John coming in saying Browns. And furthermore, he's saying Amari's
going to ball out.
Gonna ball out. It's an interesting comment there. The biggest thing for the Falcons has been Drake London. I think he's been everything that's been reported. He's actually been more productive than Kyle Pitts. Yeah. Kyle Pitts is kind of underperformed.
Drake London he's superseded my expectations for him in the NFL. I thought he was going to be a little sloppy transitioning in the NFL, being the oversized wide receiver.
Sure.
Right. But he's played very well so far, and he's made Marcus Mariota a happy quarterback so far.
Do we need to worry about Kyle Pitts?
I don't think so. No, yeah. I think that, look, when you draft Kyle Pitts 6, you know what you're getting out of him, and maybe it's you look at most of the time, he's double covered most of the time, right? That's why Drake London's been so successful.
Sure.
I think
maybe he could compliment him in the fact that people are going to start recognizing Drake London's production and start shading over his way and open things up for Kyle.
Those are 2 very big guys that can go up and grab a football. So I think once Atlanta figures out the quarterback situation, because even though we are Cincinnati guy, I don't think Desmond Ridder is a long-term answer as an NFL quarterback.
Interesting.
But
I disagree.
Really?
Yeah, I think by the bye week you see Desmond Ridder playing football for the Falcons.
I don't disagree that he'll start. I just don't think he's a long-term solution in Atlanta. I don't know if he has the arm to be a long-term NFL quarterback. He's a run-first quarterback.
I disagree again, man. I when I'm watching these Bearcats game, respectfully, obviously, I think out of the three quarterbacks that were drafted, the first three, and Desmond, Malik, and Kenny Pickett, when you look at a guy that can throw all three passes, so you have your touch ball, your feathered ball, you have your layered pass where you're kind of dropping it behind the linebackers in between. In front of the safeties, and then you look at your bullet. I think when you look at all three of those, Desmond Ridder has the best ball out of all of those. The thing that bars him a little bit is the mechanics. His release is a little bit slower. When you look at a quarterback's release, what you want to see is as little motion as possible to getting that ball out. You want to see straight back and throw. Malik Willis has the best release out of all three of them. It's not even close. His mechanics are better than every single one of those quarterbacks. Kenny Pickett, on the other hand, is just a guy. He fits that mold. He's got the size. He's got the speed. He's got the decision-making, all those things that go into that. That's why he was taken first out of the three. But Desmond Ridder, when you're actually looking at the ball as it comes out of his hands, I think he throws the best one. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. Yeah, I think I'm not saying he's the answer in Atlanta, but I am interested to see how he plays and what he was able to do at the University of Cincinnati transitions into the program. That being said, I got the Browns in this one, just like you, my boy. Got another NFC East matchup. Commanders Cowboys. Cowboys are proving to have one of the best defenses under Dan Quinn in the NFL, taking the Cowboys by 2 scores in this one.
Yeah, the Commanders are one of the 3 worst teams in football. Micah Parsons will continuously be in the backfield. I don't know what else to say about the guy. Like, watching him against Cincinnati and then just watching the highlights of him again and watching him in Monday Night Football, it's insane. He's an incredible athlete. Incredible athlete.
Absolutely amazing.
I'm really excited to watch his career kind of like transform as football changes within the generations, because I think he's a decade plus guy, and he's a guy that could go out and be a top 10 guy in sacks when it's all said and done. It's a newer statistic in the history of football, but he's a guy that can get.
It's 40 fucking years old. Can we? When are we done saying that it's a new statistic? It's a 40-year-old stat.
Until it's 50 years old, until it's halfway through football. Seriously, because football's been around for 60 years. So
it's not that new, though. That's all I'm saying.
There's a lot of guys that could have been in that category that are not. That's
fair.
That's
fair,
that's
but
it.
Yeah. There's all right. Defensive Rookie of the Year to Defensive Player of the Year for Parsons this year, says Aaron.
Yeah,
I mean, he's a front runner in my opinion, right?
If TJ Watt doesn't come back and put on some sort of, let me rephrase that. So TJ Watt's hurt. So yeah, I think he's my front runner right now.
Yeah, has to be.
I don't think there's anybody else on the other side of the ball that's there.
Sauce, maybe. Sauce might be up there.
Well, he's your defensive rookie of the year if all things continue to pan out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I cannot wait to watch him in a skills competition in the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, that'll be sexy. That'll be fun. All right, next matchup, one of the most exciting ones of the 1 o'clock slate. We've got the Jaguars headed to Philly to take on the Birds as the Jaguars take on the Eagles at 1 o'clock. This is so exciting. Such an exciting matchup. We've got 2 teams that are maybe better than we had expected going into the season. Not me, because I had the Eagles in the NFC Championship game, no big deal. But do you want me to pick this one first, or should I let you go ahead?
Yeah, let me go first here.
Okay.
So again, we're talking about the the best rushing defense in the NFL thus far in the Jacksonville Jaguars. So you are eliminating a part of Philadelphia's offense that's been so successful with Miles Sanders getting over 200 yards on the ground. But I cannot stress enough that Jalen Hurts has made very little mistakes so far through 3 weeks.
So is Trevor Lawrence.
You're right. And that's where I'm getting to. I think that this is a lot closer game than even what Vegas thinks.
What's the spread?
6.5 right now.
Wow.
So I think that this is a 3-point game to me.
I agree.
I'm taking Philadelphia, but I would not be shocked if Jacksonville pulls this game out. I wouldn't be, because Jacksonville so far has played, and to me, top 8 football in the NFL thus far. The way that they've been able to move the ball, they played excellent. They played excellent on defense. That running back tandem is good.
Trevor Lawrence looked great.
Yeah, your wide receiver core has been complemented very well by Trevor Lawrence being able to throw basically wherever he wants to so far.
Yeah.
Because the Colts defense isn't a slouch, and he really took care of business against the Colts. Like, he kind of made that Colts defense look shitty. So
dude, that was bad.
It was bad. So I'm taking the Eagles, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Jags pull this out. And honestly, for me, I'm pulling for the Jags in this game. I think it'll be a great game. This is the one I'm watching. This is the one I'm watching at 1 o'clock. Obviously, the Bengals are playing on Thursday, so I'm freed up at 1 o'clock, barring I'm at a cider mill picking apples and eating donuts and drinking apple cider here in Michigan, a staple of our community. But a ton of great apples in Michigan.
Fantastic. I mean, there's literally 4 cider mills within 10 miles of my house. It's amazing. Anyway, this is the game I want to watch the most, 100%. And that being said, you had mentioned one thing is the Jags' ability to stop the run. The thing that I'm really liking about the Eagles is the campaign of running backs that they've employed throughout the season is keeping fresh legs and guys that can continue to change the pace and carry the rock effectively. And I think that bodes well for the Eagles. And they're having a lot of guys just shine on the offensive side of the football. A lot of different guys. It's never just one. Devontae Smith obviously is a guy that you're going to have to watch out for, but they're really coming into their own as an offense. Apparently, the rock, paper, scissors in the draft room that their head coach has implied to find out how competitive somebody is working. The Eagles have a great offensive line as well. So it's going to be a great matchup. But in this day and age, I got to go offense over defense. I'm going to take the Eagles as well. Let's see. Look at this. Look at this shit. Look at this shit. Should watch the Cubs whoop the Reds on Sunday. John, the Reds are fucking dog shit, and we know it.
Yeah, but the Cubs aren't good either.
Yeah, the Cubs suck fucking too. fuck off.
That's like saying, oh, let's watch the Bears whoop up.
Who has more World Series in the last 100 years, John?
Yeah.
It would be the Reds.
That's true. The Reds do.
Yeah. The Reds. Yeah, we have 3 to year 1.
That's fair.
We have 3 to year 1.
God, that's a long time, but I'll take the win right now.
Yeah.
Being a Reds fan, I'll take that fucking win right now.
Yeah, we will.
It's a fucking.
You know what? I digress. I said that there was a game that I was watching. It's not Jags Eagles. It's not Jags Eagles. It's this one right here. 1 o'clock slot. No one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills as they head into the gates of hell in the shittiest place on earth, Baltimore, to take on the Ravens and Lamar Jackson, Todd's frontrunner for the MVP. This is going to be such a fun fucking football game. We have 2 of the most exciting quarterbacks in the NFL, 2 teams that are playing great football right now. I believe both of them are 2-1, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
What's the spread?
Right now it is.
I got to imagine it's like Bills -2.
Buffalo 3 right now.
Buffalo -3. I'm riding with Vegas on this one. Bills bounce back, and it's what's the over under? It's got to be like at least 57 points.
It's 51. That's not a bad guess on your part, though.
So I'm going to take the over and the Bills money line in a parlay on this one. Chuck, if you're still watching, I'm going to take Bills money line and the over in this matchup.
So money line for Baltimore is plus 140.
Yeah, so everything's telling me to take the Bills.
So this is where we're going to differentiate here, because I'm actually going to take the Ravens here.
Okay.
So my understanding is that Buffalo is missing all of their secondary, right?
They're missing at least one, and they've who they brought in Xavier Rhodes. They brought in, I believe,
Rhodes. So
yeah.
A decade veteran. No Dane Jackson. You're going to start your rookie defensive back out of the out of Gainesville and Kamir Elam. Man, it's going to be it. I think you're right at taking the over here because I think this is remember the Chiefs Rams game a few years ago where it was like the over under was like 60 and they scored like 80 something points or something ridiculous. This is one of those games to me, right? Like I think this is like a 42-38 or
it's gonna be
like
so much fun. Take a shot every time a touchdown scored. You'll be fucking asleep by 7 p.m.
So if you're not playing Devin Duvernay this week, you're wrong. Play Devin Duvernay this week.
Interesting.
I think that he's going to have the opportunity to be a big time scorer. He's been Lamar Jackson's favorite long pass target so far. Rashad Bateman's played great. Mark Andrews, the leading receiver so far. The running game is a little bit more shored up. J.K. Robbins back in and getting more consistent touches. I'm taking the Ravens here, and I'm taking the Ravens by 5.
Wow. Yeah, I think it's an interesting thing. You know, when I look at the Ravens, though, they're a team that, while they're 2-1, they kind of played down a little bit throughout the start of the season, especially when they're going against the Patriots. I feel like they should have blown them out, and it wasn't that. It wasn't that situation, and if Mac Jones stays in that game, maybe they lose that football game. I don't know, but it's going to be a great matchup nonetheless.
That's two secondaries that are riddled with injuries, so I think that's where I get the high scoring game. But Lamar Jackson seems to have the hot hand right now, so I'm taking Lamar Jackson on the hot hand.
Dumpster fire of the 4:00 slot
God,
at Bank of America Stadium down there in Charlotte, the other Queen City. As Kyler Murray and the Cardinals go and take on Baker Mayfield and the Panthers. Cardinals, Panthers. Dude, can I pick tie? This is such a fucking awful football game.
So money line right now is 1.5 to Carolina for what it's worth. Because Vegas hate the bird before Thanksgiving right now anyway.
You never bet on so for those of you that haven't been around, you never bet on the Cardinals after Thanksgiving. It's not after Thanksgiving. I'm taking the Cardinals in this one. I'm taking solely based on the quarterback. They have a better quarterback, and that's why I'm taking the Cardinals.
You're right, because right now Carolina has statistically the worst quarterback in the NFL.
Woo! Sheesh. Yikes.
So I'm taking Arizona as well because I don't trust Baker Mayfield. I wouldn't even let that guy sell me insurance. I just don't trust him.
Nope. He's going to jump ship. Don't do it. Next one, we got an AFC West matchup. That's a bit of a quandary. We got the Broncos heading into Vegas to take on the Raiders. Todd, what are you looking for in this one?
So
you got two anemic offenses here.
I know. So here's my thing is that I think Derek Carr has low football IQ. As a whole, right? So I think
he's like Andy Dalton.
I think a little bit worse than Andy Dalton in football IQ.
Wow.
I do feel that way because he has the weapons.
This was Aaron's dark horse for MVP, if I'm not mistaken.
It is, and if you remember, I also said that's crazy, but I just think Derek Carr has low football IQ. I don't think that he has the spectrum of success that people believed that he was going to have with bringing a guy in like Devontae Adams. I think it's I think the armor has shown that it's a little bit weaker than people anticipated. But with that being said, I believe that the Las Vegas Raiders are going to get their first dub in Gambling City here, and I think they're going to beat the Broncos because I just cannot stress this enough. Denver hates the Broncos roster hates Russell Wilson because he's so fucking weird.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of people that are plugged in that aren't like mainstays in the Broncos offense. You know, like they talk to a lot of the main guys in the team. They on any team, and they ask them, you know, are you on social media? Are you following? And you see what they say on Twitter. And a lot of those guys are saying no, but I think a lot of the guys kind of behind the scenes that aren't, you know, Cortland Sutton, that aren't Jadavion Williams, that aren't Russell Wilson, that aren't Jerry Jeudy, et cetera. They're probably seeing all the things that are saying. They're probably like, yeah, this guy's fucking weird. Like, dude, I just went out and busted my ass, and now you want me to scream run or pass? Like, are you fucking like, what is this fucking Pee Wee football? Are you serious right now? Not doing it. I'm with you on this one. I find it hard to believe that the Raiders go 0-4. I think they take a win here against the Broncos. Just statistically speaking, it's very difficult to go 0-4. So I'm going to take the Raiders, and that's the only reason that I'm taking them.
Purely stats.
Purely stats. Patriots, Packers in Lambeau. No Mac Jones. This one feels pretty easy for me. I got to take the Pack.
Yeah, go Pack, go. Let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on this one. Chiefs, Buccaneers. Both teams coming off a loss. This is Sunday Night Football. Interesting matchup here. Bucks have not looked great. Chiefs looked really good the first couple of weeks, but they kind of took a step back against the Colts. Todd, what are you looking for in this matchup?
So if you're looking at just general matchup predictions, Vegas wants you to take Tampa Bay pretty generously, honestly. Right now it's 65, 35 odds going towards Tampa Bay, winning in primetime on Sunday night in Tampa Bay at Raymond James with the old ship and Raymond James. But man, I just can't imagine Pat Mahomes losing 2 weeks in a row, regardless of how him and his offensive coordinator are not clearly on the same page. And I think it's funny. I don't know if you've seen a lot of the kind of the clap back from the conversation that Bierney and Mahomes had going into halftime. I'm sure you saw that the argument that they were having, and a lot of people were like, "Yeah, he sucks at calling plays. Pat Mahomes calls all the plays."
Wow.
So while I respect Tom Brady for what he is, I don't think the Chiefs lose 2 in a row. I don't think they let themselves lose on primetime. Pat Mahomes just plays better on primetime. We've seen it. He plays so well in primetime, and I don't know. I'm taking the Chiefs here.
I'm going with Vegas on this one. I'm taking Tom Brady and the Bucks. In a toss-up, I usually side with the entity that is good at keeping people's money, and I'm going with Vegas on this one because it is a toss-up. It's hard for me to look at the X's and O's and say that there's a clear division of one or the other, and I don't see it yet this early in the season. These are two teams that could easily be in their respective conference championship games, and with those things being said, I got to ride with Vegas. I got to go with the Bucks. So. You had mentioned Pat Mahomes not losing 2 in a row. It's hard for me to see Tom Brady doing that as well.
Gosh, I don't know, man. It just feels different looking at Tom Brady this year.
It does.
And
it's the Botox.
I hate saying that too, because while I hate Tom Brady just because of all of the Super Bowl rings that he
just
had,
like you hate the Yankees. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I respect the fuck out of Tom Brady because I believe that I believe that we won't see a quarterback in our lifetime that you and I are alive that does the things that Tom Brady has done within a career.
Right.
It's a truly magnificent thing to see a guy go in and year out and be in a Super Bowl conversation, and he still is, and he's fucking 45, 46. It's nuts.
It's amazing.
It's crazy to say that. Yeah, 45. So I just don't see instead of breaking one tablet against the Saints, he broke 2 tablets. Everything's going in a weird direction, man. It's Mercury's and retrograde.
They do this every year. Tom Brady does this every fucking year. They start slow every fucking year.
Mercury's in retrograde, Corey. Get the signs right.
John with a comment. His weapons have diminished, but they're going to come back. They're going to come back, and they're going to be just fine.
Don't sleep on Russell Gage. Don't sleep on him.
You guys have a good show. Chiefs win. John, thank you so much, man.
Thank
You've been fantastic tonight.
Yeah, dude. We really don't keep coming back. That's all. That's all we ask. Keep coming back. We love having you here, man.
So we move on to the final matchup of Week 4. Todd, you've been marking these down, correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank God.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Final matchup, rematch of the NFC Championship game last year. A divisional matchup in the Rams going on up to take on the 49ers on Monday Night Football. The Rams, a team that looked to kind of be putting things together a little bit. The Niners, a team that things kind of look to be sliding off. It's hard for me to go against the Rams. It's hard for me to go against the Super Bowl champs in this matchup, Todd. So I'm going with LA.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think what I saw out of Matt Stafford last week is going to be a consistent trend moving forward.
Sure.
There is something to be said about not taking a snap. No snaps going into an NFL game.
Yeah.
Especially going in and playing against a top 5.
Oh, you mean like Joe Burrow?
Buffalo. Yes, you're right.
Yeah. Interesting.
Especially going against a top 5 defense that is Buffalo, and making really not crazy mistakes, but just lacking a little bit of confidence. Touchdowns are super, or interceptions are greater than touchdowns right now for Stafford, but I believe that switches over after this week. I'm taking the Rams here. I don't trust Jimmy G right now at all.
So it's very clear the 1:00 slot is one that is way better than the last half of the games on Sunday, but nonetheless, it'll be a fun week 4. Who backs up Jimmy G? John, I have no idea who the third string quarterback. Todd will look that up real quick.
Yeah. Because I wondered that too, because I wondered if it was the dude that I can't remember.
Mullins?
No, but he got traded. He got traded for like a 7th round pick before the season started. I think he might be Kirk Cousins' backup now.
Interesting.
Their backup is Brock Purdy, 7th round draft pick.
No fucking clue who that is.
Yeah, so 7th round draft pick. I believe he was next to Mr. Irrelevant. He might have been Mr. Irrelevant, drafted out of Iowa State.
Now look at him. He's a injury away from playing in the NFL. Good for him.
He's 5 days away from being born in the year 2000. I just want to put that in perspective.
Wow. Out of mold. All right. Jesus Christ. Ladies and gentlemen, we are rolling over 2 hours right now. It has been a fantastic show. I appreciate every single one of you has jumped in tonight. Please, if you don't already, subscribe to us on YouTube, Rally Tau Sports. You can follow us on Twitter, which we are litty titty on. And we will be back next Wednesday for our recap of this week 4. Tomorrow night, Bengals, Dolphins in Paycor Stadium. The Bengals with the white tiger helmets. It's going to be a great matchup, a rematch of Burrow and Tua. It's going to be a hell of a game, Todd. I'm looking forward to it. I know you are too.
Let's go. Let's
go. Let's go. It's going to be a fun matchup. Everybody that came in, we love you guys. Thank you so much. We hope you're back next week as well with dingers, dunks, and drives. For Todd, I'm Corey. Peace.